During the dawn of a new day, the sun made its way into the expansive Forrester mansion, carrying with it the simmering tensions and secrets that had become the lifeblood of the elite of Los Angeles. There was a palpable sense of unpredictability in the air, the kind that had been building up for several weeks. Finn Finnegan, the ever-dedicated doctor and husband, was at the heart of this web. His mind was spinning with thoughts of Luna, the enigmatic new woman who had suddenly arrived in town. Una had recently moved into the area. A flurry of charm and attraction. Una had appeared out of nowhere, and she had captured everyone who was in her immediate vicinity. However, there was something about her that Finn found to be unsettling when he was with her. Because he was a man of science and reasoning, Finn had acquired the ability to trust his intuition. In addition, his gut feelings were alerting him to the fact that Una was not the person she claimed to be. The beginning of everything was marked by a string of peculiar incidents. In the beginning, there were the late-night phone conversations that she would answer in a hushed tone, but she would always disappear when someone was close by. Then there was the peculiar conflict that existed between Una and Ridge, the patriarch of the Forrester family. Although it was not overt, Finn was able to recognize it in the way that their eyes would lock, which was a combination of dread and recognition. When Ridge was questioned, he denied knowing Una, but Finn was not entirely convinced by his denial. And then there was the issue of the paperwork that Finn had stumbled onto by accident while he was at Forrester Creations. These were financial records that did not make sense, and they were all connected to a project that Una had been heavily involved in. As Finn made his way through the estate, his thoughts were racing, and the luxurious surroundings did little to calm the rising worry that he was experiencing. His wife, Steffi, had observed that he was feeling uneasy, but Finn just shrugged it off because he did not want to cause her any concern until he had something definite to report. Nevertheless, the more he investigated Una's history, the more questions he had about her, as well as the less responses. Finn, who was adamant about getting to the bottom of the problem, made the decision to take matters into his own hands. He was well aware that if anyone had the ability to obtain the truth, it was him. Considering that he had successfully navigated life or death circumstances in the emergency room, how difficult could it possibly be to solve a mystery? The first thing that Finn did was make sure he checked in with a reliable source at the hospital. This contact was someone who had access to records that were otherwise off-limits to him. Finn needed to know whether there were any ties between Una and anyone in the medical world, even if it was a low probability that there would be any. Unexpectedly, the findings were found. Not only were Una's medical records spotless, but they were almost too spotless. A flawless past was crafted for her, complete with glowing endorsements and a clean bill of health. It was as if someone had gone out of their way to build this immaculate history for her. But Finn had a better guess. A flawless medical record did not exist in this line of employment. There was no such thing as a perfect medical record. As his suspicions grew, Finn made the decision to extend the scope of his quest. The investigation into Una's background began with him reaching out to former co-workers, searching through databases, and even employing a private investigator to look into the matter. Every clue took him closer to the truth, but it also led him into a dark, tangled web of lies and deception that threatened to engulf him. He was terrified of being consumed by this web. While this was going on, Una continued to charm her way through Los Angeles, effortlessly slipping into the lives of the wealthy and powerful. She appeared everywhere, including at the Forrester parties, on the arm of high-profile clients, and even managed to make her way into Steffi's inner circle of acquaintances. But Finn was able to see the chinks in her armor, the times when she would relax her guard, and the expressions of terror that would appear on her face when she believed that no one was watching her. Finn began to unearth a number of alarming links as he proceeded to dig deeper into the matter. It was known that Una was connected to a number of mysterious personalities in the criminal underworld, individuals who had a vested interest in the Forrester family and their empire. When Finn found out that Una was not simply some random woman who had strayed into their lives, she was actually a part of a meticulously coordinated strategy to take down the Forresters from the inside. This was the most surprising news that transpired. It was all beginning to make sense at that point. In order to bring the family to their knees, Yuna had been dispatched to infiltrate the family, seed strife and chaos, and bring them to their knees. On the other hand, by whom and for what reason? During the course of his inquiry, Finn found himself in some shady spots, such as abandoned warehouses on the outskirts of town, secret meetings in back alleys, and chats with dangerous persons who would rather see him die than allow him to uncover the truth. Despite this, Finn was unyielding. He was unable to allow Luna to be successful in her objective, regardless of what it was, and not when there was so much at risk. After what seemed like weeks of dogged effort, Finn was finally able to achieve the breakthrough he had been hoping for. An individual who had previously worked with Luna in a different city and was a former acquaintance of Luna's consented to meet with Finn in a shadowy setting. Despite the fact that the man was anxious and kept looking over his shoulder while they were conversing, he was able to offer Finn with the piece of the puzzle that was missing. At the time, Yuna was employed by a formidable criminal organization which had its sights set on the Forrester Empire. Their planning for this had been going on for years, and they had been deliberately and slowly putting everything in place. In addition, now that Yuna was on the inside, they were prepared to launch an attack. However, Finn was not going to allow that to take place. Since he was now in possession of the truth, he made a beeline toward the Forrester home, his pulse thumping rapidly in his chest. Ridge, Steffi, and the others needed to be warned before it was too late for him to do so. But when he came, he discovered Luna waiting for him with a smile on her face that conveyed her understanding. Her tone was as soft as silk as she spoke, and she said, "I knew you'd figure it out eventually. Finn, you are a really intelligent man, but it is already too late. That is already finished." As Yuna's comments began to sink in, Finn's blood began to run cold. From the beginning to the end, she had always been one step ahead of him. However, there was one thing that she had not anticipated, and that was Finn's unwavering commitment to safeguarding his family. Not without putting up a fight, he was not going to give her the victory. A tense confrontation ensued between Finn and Luna, during which Finn detailed everything that he had discovered. Luna, however, did not falter. She was composed, calm, and in command of the situation. She cautioned, "You believe you have won, but this is just the beginning of the next phase. The Forrester family is on the verge of disintegrating, and there is nothing you can do to prevent it from happening." On the other hand, Finn did not back down. He had gone too far and taken too much of a risk to allow Luna to evade harm and go away undamaged. He utilized the facts he had obtained to expose Yuna for who she truly was as a last-ditch effort to get her to recognize herself. During the confrontation, all of the participants' feelings were running high and their tempers were on fire. On the other hand, Finn was the one who emerged victorious in the end. Yuna was taken into custody and her schemes were foiled. Nonetheless, the harm had already been done. The Forrester family was left in a state of disbelief after the woman in whom they had placed their faith flipped their life upside down. And as Finn saw her being led away in handcuffs, he couldn't escape the sensation that this was just the beginning of what was to come. Despite the fact that the truth had been revealed, the consequences were only getting started. As for Finn, he was well aware that the conflict was not yet ended.